Good afternoon, friends. Good afternoon, ladies and gentlemen. I have been given the pleasant task of introducing a friend of mine from my batch, PC Padmanabhan. And while the panelists take their seats, I will give you a quick synopsis of my friend PC Padmanabhan. And probably that will explain to you why he qualifies to be the moderator of this conversation. He is a retired senior executive with 40 years of experience in the technology space. He has served as a co-founder and CEO in 2 emerging technology companies. He's a managing partner, I think that should be he was a managing partner, and in a middle market private equity fund with invested capital in excess of 2.4 billion in 9 portfolio companies. You might wonder why we have to specify 9 portfolio companies, because if he has handled 9, 5 is just a cakewalk for him. He has been a practice leader in America's M&A advisory practice at PwC and Ernst & Young. And he has served on the board of 5 technology companies and involved in 62 acquisition and divestiture transactions in his career. So we've advised him as friends from his batch that the next thing he can look at is a marriage bureau, because what else is it but mergers and acquisitions, right? So Padu, please take over.
Thanks, Girish.
PC Padmanabhan.
So Girish and I have been classmates in Don Bosco from 3rd standard. So it's been very long friendship, and so happy to see you here, Girish, and talking about me to everyone. Thank you very much. We want to welcome all of you to this panel discussion. Everything here just evolved in the last 10 days. I had called Dharma and I said, hey, do you want any help? We're available, we're getting closer to the event. And he said, yes. Can you coordinate this panel? And then I said, are there people you want to be on the panel? So he sent me resumes. So I picked it up and we had a quick Zoom call. And sometimes when good things are supposed to happen, the right people get together. And this group, we had no arguments, no discussions. Everybody was unanimous in a matter of 5 minutes, right? The only debate we had was, are we going to look at the AI from a technical side or from a strategic and application side? And very quickly we decided that in order to make it interesting and get more involvement from all of you, we are going to focus more on the strategic side of AI, where it is today, what is going to happen, and where will we see it evolve. That's really going to be the focus of our discussion. And we are going to really look at 5 different segments where AI is making a lot of impact. Now I want to go around and introduce the speakers here. Ashok Ramaswamy to my right. He is the founder and CEO of Chat CFO Inc. It's a finance AI software company based in Austin. Ashok has a background that includes 20 years of experience in technology and finance as an operating executive, investment banker, venture capitalist with leading global companies in Wall Street. He holds an MBA from Harvard Business School and MS in Computer Science from Stanford School of Engineering and Bachelor of Engineering Computer Science from the National Institute of Technology in Trichy. The next participant sitting to my left, the first one on my left is Aju Koshi. He is from Don Bosco class of 1990. He is a founder and CEO of Converge, a leading provider of enterprise regulatory compliance software solutions, is headquartered in Houston. Just remember, 4 of us in this panel are in Texas, okay? Texas! So that's where next AI is, the birthplace of the next wave of AI, right? It's moving out of California. Aju has over 20 years of experience in technology. Since founding Converge Point in 2012, he has led the company to become a trusted partner for hundreds of companies, including Fortune 500, large and mid-sized companies in various industry verticals worldwide. He's on a mission to incorporate AI-driven features into their software and establish Converge Point as an innovative leader in the regulatory compliance space. That's very intriguing. It's very exciting to be in your position, Aju. Aju holds a bachelor's degree in civil engineering from Crescent Engineering College, master's degree in computer science from Long Island University, and he attended the management program at the Columbia University. He's actively involved in teaching and mentoring graduate students in IT management program at Columbia University and at the MBA program at Rice University, and participates as an angel investor in successful startups. He is an active member of the Entrepreneurs Association in Houston. And we don't have a chair for Ramdas. Huh? Yeah, Ramdas is here. What a timing, my friend. Before we got on the stage, I got a note from him. I got delayed playing the game. I'm just going up to have a shower and I'll be back 15 minutes late, but he's almost there. Okay, so Girish is from the DB class of 1992, a very dynamic, versatile guy, and he is a national champion in rifle shooting from India. He's won six titles for rifle shooting. Girish is a co-founder and CEO of Maxter, a New York-based startup that has been making waves in the global digital publishing business. He has 28 years of experience in cross-platform publishing, including print, mobile, and web development. Since inception in 2011, Maxter has crossed 87 million downloads from more than 150 countries, with thousands of magazines, newspapers, and books from more than 4,500 publishers worldwide. In 2017, Maxter was awarded the Best News Magazine App Award by the Global Mobile Application Summit and Award, GMASA Group. He was voted as the CIOL Technology Person of the Year in 2012 for his contribution to global digital publishing, and was invited to speak at the prestigious World Magazine Congress in Rome in 2013. He was listed twice in the Fortune magazine's 40 under 40 list of global Indian entrepreneurs. Prior to Maxter, he co-founded and was the president of .com Infoway and Galata Media. Girish is a state rank holder from Don Bosco Higher Secondary School, Chennai, and holds a degree from the College of Engineering, Guindy. He has 6 Indian national gold medals in rifle shooting and holds the national record in one event. So that's very spectacular achievement. Sitting next to Giri is Rex Anand. He's from the DB class of 1987. There you go. He's a very versatile, high-energy guy too. Rex is a seasoned strategy, technology consulting leader and a C-level advisor with over 27 years of experience in guiding human-centric and technology-driven strategies for implementing innovative cloud, AI, and digital transformation solutions. He works with leading partners like Oracle, IBM, Bearing Point, KPMG, and PwC. Rex has consistently delivered technology transformations for large and mid-sized corporations that have realized business benefits ranging from 20 million to over 500 million across diverse industries in healthcare, financial services, retail manufacturing, and emerging technology. He holds a BS in engineering from Bharathiar University and a Master of Business Administration from Loyola College. He is also a graduate of the CTO program offered by the Wharton Executive Management School at the University of Pennsylvania. Then we go to our automotive guy, Matthew Parappalli. Right? Did I get it right? Yeah. I speak Malayalam, so I got it right. He is from the DB class of 1988. Matthew is the CEO of CareSoft Global, a world leader in automotive benchmarking technology optimization and cost reduction programs with a staff of 2,400 people operating in 50 countries across the globe. He has led CareSoft since 2008 and has 27 years of progressive management experience in manufacturing and automotive. He's going to be actually touching on one of the most interesting areas where AI has played out, and that's in the smart car area that most of us have had an opportunity to interact with. So he's going to be addressing that. He holds a BE in Mechanical Engineering from Guindy Engineering College, MSc in Industrial and Operations Engineering from University of Michigan, Ann Arbor, MBA from the Kellogg School of Management at Northwestern University. He was traveling, where were you, in China? Europe. He just came late last night and is here this morning. And then the last but not the least is Bharatan. Bharatan was actually one of the people who was targeted to speak on AI in the opening session, but unfortunately he was not able to get that opportunity fulfilled. So he is here with us, and he's going to add some tremendous clarity because he has a lot of experience in AI. He is a PhD in economics from the University of Madras in systems engineering and a master's in system engineering from the University of Arizona. He designed an expert system to diagnose incipient stuttering among young children, created and led two nonprofit health information exchange, and his long-term interest is in AI and its consequences of it. So we have a very interesting panel here, and what we want to really do today is to explore the strategic side of AI, how it is going to impact our life and work. That's what this whole discussion is going to be about. On the strategic issues, we're going to actually explore three areas. The first is we want to demystify AI, right? AI, there is a lot of hype, and it's very difficult to say what is myth, what is reality. So our panel speakers here, some of them are going to help us clarify that. And then we are going to look at the adoption level that's already exists in the AI and to what extent it has impacted our lives. And then we're going to envision the future, where it is likely to go, and some of the regulatory hurdles that we are going to encounter. So it's going to kind of encompass all of that. This discussion could last 2 hours and be extremely interesting, but we're going to try to condense it. Everybody here is filled with knowledge about AI and the implications of that, so we are looking forward to a very healthy discussion. Before we get started, every century there are things that happen from an innovation standpoint that impacts our life tremendously. In the 19th century, the things that impacted were the creation of the invention of the automobiles and steam engines, locomotive engines. It was all about transportation, moving people from point A to point B. That continued into the 21st century, and then we saw airplanes change our lives. And towards the end of the 20th century, computers, and then we ended the 20th century with the internet taking over. In the 21st century, without a question, AI is going to have the biggest impact in our lives, and that is going to continue. And in addition to that, at least one of the areas I believe is going to impact us would be the genetic engineering, growth in genetic engineering. And that's going to be around our health and lifestyles and disease controls, and then AI is also going to play a very important role. So this is a very apt discussion for a group here that is comprises of extraordinary individuals in our society, and I hope we'll all benefit from that. So the first question that I want to bring Rex in is, what is the hype and what is the reality of AI? Can you share your thoughts on that?
Sure. Good afternoon, everyone. How was lunch today? Good? Good, okay. I'm going to take a little clue from our legend, Vijay Amitraj, and try to bring in some ideas about, to get the whole room engaged. Let's start a little bit about, what is AI? Is AI going to be the one that's going to threaten our jobs? How pervasive it is in our lives? So just from a concept standpoint, there are 3 layers of AI, right? Some of the folks might be familiar, so please bear with me when I'm trying to explain that. It's artificial narrow intelligence, artificial general intelligence, and artificial superintelligence. Now, artificial narrow intelligence, right? So it's been there for quite a long time. You look at your phone, it recognizes your face, it does certain things, very specific, very targeted. You want to play chess with a computer or with a robo, it knows how to do it. But if you take the same robo, even if it's, it can even beat our friend Vishwanathan Anand. But if you take the same robo on the same board, if you put drafts or checkers, it's going to go crazy. It has no idea about it. So that's pretty much where narrow intelligence is, and that's very pervasive. It's there in many areas of our life. What's more interesting, and a lot of research, proof of concepts, efforts going on right now, and it's probably less than a decade away. Some folks say it's 2050s, but artificial general intelligence, and that's a couple of things that are happening. There's something called the Turing test. Some of the folks might be familiar with it. You take 2 people, and a third one could be a robot or a bot, some kind of a artificial engine, and they're going to talk about a particular topic. And at the end of it, there'll be an evaluator who will be watching it, not knowing who the players are. And if the evaluator is able to identify who the bot is, then it has failed. That's where the evolutions are still happening. A lot of things are, research is happening, proof of concepts are happening. The other thing which is very important, or people working on, is the coffee test. We should be able to take a robo, enter a home, you should be able to identify where the kitchen is, where the coffee maker is, get all the ingredients, and make a good cup of coffee. We are not there yet, right? So those are the areas where I think a lot of efforts, and that's just an example, right? So there could be, the next thing is the employee test, where robo's trained to prepare its profile, present itself for job interviews. And that's where, when we get to those points, like I said, it's probably a decade, couple of decades away, that's when it really will start impacting our lives. So a lot of the questions that I get from our clients, from our C-suite folks is, hey, my folks, if you go into AI, what's going to happen to them? Is it something that they should be worried about? As a human transformation management expert, we get that questions from almost all of our C-suite leaders. It is being in the works, and once we get there, that's when life becomes a little bit more challenging. Superintelligence, that's probably quite a few years away, right? It's much more smarter than humans, and that's, I think in a nutshell, I think that should be able to help us where we are today and how pervasive it is and how it's impacting both our work and our life. Okay.
Thanks, Rex. Ashok, based on, you're the finance guy, based on your experience in financial and business decision making, right? What do you expect to see from a fiction versus reality standpoint?
So the hype, the way I look at AI is it's not different from any other technology, the internet, the cloud, SaaS even. It's just that it's entered the popular media a lot quicker than these other technologies. And it's going to have the same tests of whether it's useful for businesses and consumers for it to become more widespread. So in 2024, you have about $10 trillion of value in AI, about $7 trillion in the public markets, and $3 trillion in the private markets. So the main drivers of that are financial investors. And the adoption of AI, broadly speaking, whether it's consumer or business, is relatively low. It's in enterprises, I would say it's maybe 5 to 10%. There is some stickiness for certain applications, but it is not widespread use at the moment. So unless it passes the same test that other technologies do, it will have the same set of challenges in terms of price and adoption. And so that's going to happen to AI just as anything else. I'll get into the finance applications later on, but I just want to give the overall view of where I think AI adoption is and what's going to drive it.
Thanks. Now we've got Bharatan. We had very interesting conversation about myth versus reality in AI. It'd be great if you could share that.
Thanks,
More from a neural network and NPL perspective.
Can you hear me? Yes. I'm going to talk about further on the demythification of AI, but I want to do something completely different to start with. I want to give you my theory on the paradigm of Don Bosco's education, and I'll tell you where the link is. When we were students in the 60s and the 70s, and we were studying for the Madras matriculation exams, we had no optional courses. We had a bunch of subjects to study. And between the 7th and the 10th grade, we were packed with information. For instance, we knew from train rides, we knew the cities of Vladivostok, Tomsk and Omsk. And we also knew about Kalgoorlie and Coolgardie in Australia. In our sleep, we could prove that a square minus b square is a minus b into a plus b. We could do practically every one of the theorems from Euclidean geometry again in our sleep. We knew about the boy who couldn't shut the door, like Vijay referred to yesterday. We learned about the Rani of Jhansi. We learned about Sir Ayerkut of Vandiwash, which is today known as Vandavasai. We learned about the US Civil War. We learned about the US Constitution. We even knew about John C. Calhoun. So, with all of that information being packed into adolescent minds that were just learning to grow for themselves, what really happened, and this is only my theory, so there's no argument on this with anybody else, okay? My theory is that because we were packed with so much of information, each one of us could actually assess, assimilate, compact, compress, summarize the information that we got, and then make sense of it. Which also meant that we could learn new things very easily. And my basic proof of that concept is this. In the years between the 7th and the 11th grade in our school, we had not one class that referred to biology. There was not even the word biology used. And yet, today, even in this audience, there are so many people who are doctors who graduated from Don Bosco School. How do you think they made it? Because they could learn fast, because of all the things that they had got in here. Okay? I'll come back to this in a minute. Now, there are the components of AI that I think everybody should know about, but this audience here knows much more than I do. And there are people here who probably know less than I do. So let me just clarify a couple of very quick points. At the heart of the AI sector, and to expand on what Rex was saying, there are two kinds of models. There is the strong model and there is the weak model. In addition to what you were pointing out, Rex, in the strong model, the other thing which Sir Roger Penrose has talked about is that AI eventually must have consciousness. Consciousness means that all of us have it. We know that we are we, and the outside world around us is a world that exists outside of us. A machine should know that, and that's a strong concept, and it's very far away. What we have working actually is what we call the weak AI, which is entirely computational and not capable of consciousness. Roger Penrose is now saying that consciousness itself is something that is not computable, and therefore computational systems cannot get there. But the point is, even though it's called weak AI, it's incredibly strong, and we're going to hear about that as we go along. The components of this AI business are the following, okay? First of all, there is a neural network or a neural net. It's a type of machine learning model inspired by the human brain. It consists of layers of interconnected nodes called neurons, where each neuron processes input and passes the result to the next layer. What that means is that that system can actually learn. Associated with these neural nets is something called a large language model. And these are advanced AI systems that are designed to understand and generate human language based on transformer architectures which excel at understanding context and sequences of words. They can actually put together strings of words and anticipate what the next word is going to be. And much of your chat, GPT and so on is based on that. Thirdly, and this is the point at which we really have to remember, these systems are based on enormous amounts of data, practically everything that is on the internet. So that's fed into each of these systems, and these systems learn from the data that they grab from all these places. Now do you see why I was talking about Don Bosco? Any average 3 students from Don Bosco can do well in Jeopardy, right? Because we are packed with all that information. So these AI systems are also packed with all this information, so they can also do the same thing, assess, assimilate, summarize, and come back with some kind of an output. I've been having conversations with ChatGPT for quite some time now, and I know there's one thing that it cannot do. It can't give you a single word answer to a question. You ask anything and it'll give you 3 paragraphs. You say, give me a 15-minute talk, it's great. You ask a question that's a yes or no, no chance. So while any 3 students at Don Bosco can win in Jeopardy, I doubt that ChatGPT can. Okay? But the point I want you to make is this. If ChatGPT did not exist, if AI did not exist, I'm willing to bet that somebody from Don Bosco would invent it. Right? So the AI that you then get is the development of computer systems that can perform tasks typically requiring human intelligence. But it's a pretense, as Rex was pointing out. It's not really intelligence, it's just the capacity to be able to absorb certain types of information and produce answers that seem to be intelligent. Years and years ago, in the 1980s, there was a program called Elizabeth, which a bunch of psychiatrists put together. Elizabeth did something that many psychotherapists use in their communication with patients. Where if you said anything to Elizabeth, she would respond by asking a question about it. You'd say, I'm feeling very sad today. Why are you feeling sad today? Is what Elizabeth would do. And what happened in the early versions of that program was that people got locked into it. And one of the secretaries in that academic institution where Elizabeth was developed got into a conversation with Elizabeth and ran for 2 full days without a break. So it can be pretty confusing, it can be pretty, shall we say, perplexing. But it's totally attractive. I mean, that's the only word I can think of it. Once you get caught in these systems, you get caught in these systems. But again, they are not truly intelligent, and that is something that you have to keep in mind.
Thanks, Bharathan. See, the one thing for all of us, I'm sure those of you who are involved know this, AI just didn't happen overnight. It's been evolving over the last 70 years. And in the last 15, 20 years, what we have been able to accomplish is very significant. And if that trend continues, it is going to create some huge impact in our lives, right? Like what our private equity fund we focused on was companies working on enhancing the neural network capabilities. And we also invested a lot in the natural language processing, speaking, writing, visual, facial recognitions, and so forth. And we parked these technologies with some of the largest technology players when we exited out of those investments. And where they have already taken from what we have given them with their dollars and their brain power, I think lots of good things are likely to come. And I think we have to be very hopeful and very positive. Moving right along, I want to just go into the penetration of AI in areas that impacts all of us. The first thing I wanted our panel member Matthew to focus on is really to talk about the implications AI has had in the smart car world that has evolved.
Yeah, thanks, Mary. I focus tremendously on automotive, so all my applications on AI are going to be in that context. So first, let me start off and give you an example. I think all of us use a smartphone, but this is not just a phone, right? It's a camera, it's a GPS, it's a multitude of devices that goes into this phone. What we talk about in technology is this is called convergence of technologies, okay? So I want you to imagine this convergence also contextually happening in the automotive industry, okay? So let me give you some examples. The first biggest example that I think most of you will be familiar with is you would have had, I don't know whether you've heard of the term autonomous driving, and then we talk about level 1, level 2, level 3, level 4, and level 5 is fully autonomous, where the car can drive itself. So the latest algorithms that we use, that are being used in the automotive industry for autonomous driving is based on AI, where and the leader in that, of course, is Tesla, followed rapidly by 2 or 3 Chinese companies. What they do is, Tesla, for example, has 3 million or 4 million cars on the road, 4 million cars. So if you assume 20,000 miles a year, that's around 100,000 miles, 100 million miles of data, or sorry, more than 3 times 10,000. It's over a billion or 10 billion miles that they have accumulated of data. What they use, Bharathan talked about, and somebody else talked about, they're using LLMs to train these models, because when we drive a car and we come to a traffic light, we recognize it as red, okay? They're training these models to make sure that the yellow light is actually a yellow light to stop, and it's not a sun. Like if there's a sun in the background, it should recognize the difference between the two. So the application is tremendously to use AI to use autonomous driving systems. So that's one example of an application, and Tesla by far leads the way. We have a couple of technologists in our group who come from Chinese companies who are very much following Tesla, and the seat of innovation in AI is in this space, in autonomous driving, is actually in the Bay Area because of the leadership of Tesla and Google with Waymo and so on and so forth. The other application that I'll just give you, I think I have 2 children, and well, now they're over in high school and so on, but I'll just give you an application of how AI is being used in the car. So just imagine you had a car that was driving itself, and we have an in-vehicle infotainment system, okay? What we call it IVI, which is your whole technology stack in front of you, be it the smart screens and so on. Other than Tesla, most of the American or Japanese or Korean manufacturers are way behind. The Chinese are very, very far ahead in the space. So just imagine, I have, my children are now 17, but I go back, say, 10 or 15 years. If my son was in a car seat and he was drinking milk, the IVI camera would recognize that he is drinking milk, would then tell the autonomous driving system that it should not change lanes, okay? And if it does change lanes, it will tell the suspension system automatically to we have air suspensions, to increase to make it more smoother, where the ride and handling, so that you make a slower turn, so that the child doesn't spill the milk. This is the level of AI integration that's happening in vehicles today. The leaders in this space of the application of AI by far are the Chinese, be it NIO, be it Xiaopeng, and some of our customers. So I don't know, Patty, whether this answers the question in terms of AI application in automotive.
Now, from a consumer adoption standpoint, do you have any perspectives on that?
Okay, so some of these technologies that we're talking about, so level 2 plus is in FSD in Tesla. Today they've launched FSD V12, it's on the Cybertruck, it's on the Tesla Y and so on. But in terms of level 2 plus in China, this is becoming very, very mainstream. Today, if you're selling a car for like $40,000 in China, if you don't have level 2 plus or level 3, you can't sell the car. It's impossible. It's kind of a given. It's like just imagine selling this any smartphone without a camera or a light today, it's impossible. So that's kind of the consumer adoption that's happening. And the other thing that we notice, we work with the automotive industry around the world, technology adoption by far is much faster in China because the economy is paperless, they use Weixin, they use Alipay and so on. The country is just very, very electronically oriented. So the people are very, very tech savvy and so on. So we see this on the phone because the whole country runs on phones. And then like even when I call Uber and pay or whatever, or even if I have to pay a taxi cab, I pay with my Chinese app. I don't pay with cash anymore. I don't use cash much in China anymore. So the technology adoption from a consumer standpoint, I think would be very high in China, more than any other country that I've experienced.
Great, thanks. I was talking about all the innovations coming in the car and the amount of AI features that we already have. If my son was sitting here, he would tell me that I shouldn't be coordinating this panel. See, I've spent investing through our private equity in the AI marketplace for over 15 years. And I have a Tesla that is 100% self-driven, but I never use it. Do you know why? Because I can't lose control of that car. I'm the only one in my family. I've not used it. Everybody else uses it. So a lot of this that is happening, my generation is going to pass by, but I think it's the next generation that is coming, they're going to use it, right? You can talk about a whole bunch of features in automotive or anything else, but I got to touch and feel it. And I don't think I'm at that point in life to let that go, right or wrong. I shouldn't be sitting here, I shouldn't have made investments in AI, but that's the reality, right? It's just fascinating. It's really fascinating. The next place we got to go is content creation. The impact of AI in content creation area is enormous. It has impacted media, entertainment, publication, a whole bunch of things. And Girish is probably right there to help us walk through the impact of AI in the content creation space.
Yeah, thanks, Manny. Sorry to have come late. I would have been happy to have an AI bot here instead of me who could answer all these questions. Maybe over time that will be something that actually happens. That we don't have to be there, so AI teaches you everything that you need to know. But coming back to the media space, it's a very vast space. One side is content creation, like Adi said, and the next is content distribution, the next one is content consumption. So I think all of you are consuming media in various ways, either on your phone, on your television, or whatever device you may have. Content consumption is what actually affects us. And in many cases you might see, hey, I spoke about mattress during my conversation, and suddenly I'm getting ads for mattresses. And then suddenly, the other day I was planning to run a marathon. I said, I'm planning to run a marathon, and I started getting these, prompts saying that, hey, there's this Chennai marathon, the Chicago marathon, and these are the shoes you need to buy. These are early days of AI in terms of the consumption, in terms of retargeting and distribution of any content. Right now, many of us still watch television, and we are watching it serially in one way or the other. Right? We watch episodes, we watch series, but then if you look at it over time, the serial television has become something on-demand television, and sometimes we ourselves don't know what we want to watch, and that's where the AI comes in, where the AI actually may know more about you than you. Right? So when you go to the content creation part, like for example in our own company at Maxter, we have about 1 billion page views being generated every year inside our app. So people are reading newspapers and magazines and Time magazine and whatever it may be, they're reading from all over the world in different languages. And imagine trying to assimilate that 1 billion people or the 1 billion page views. What is the mood of the content? Is it a happy news? Is it a sad news? Is it someone has died? Or something has happened? And then what is our reaction to it? And coming back to the car example where the car camera is actually looking you and seeing whether your kid is going to spill the milk. This phone camera is also looking at you to say, as you're reading, are you looking sad? Are you looking happy? And right now it's not yet there, but over time, it will actually suggest to you what you need to be reading, what you need to be watching. And so the content creation, like yesterday, you heard Vijay Amitraj saying that, he's going to quit because there's going to be AI commentators. You don't need Vijay Amitraj to actually see what he's saying. And you'll have like this amazing content creation. That's nothing but content creation, right? And you also have another area, like for example, Father Rector. Yesterday, I don't know who all were here yesterday, but you heard the music that he, within an hour, became a music director. Right? I can imagine a Father Rector in our times going to a computer or whatever and creating content on the fly. Right? So these are all things that we would never have thought possible, and now anyone is able to do it. So if you have few of these apps, right now most of us go to Google to search, and of course some of us are moving to ChatGPT to do that, but there is still a lot of people who don't use either of the above. Right? They don't use Google or ChatGPT. They ask questions in person. Hey, what is this happening? How do I get there? What do I do? But the rest of us who are more savvy, we use technology. Right? And soon technology will be the mainstay. Right? And it will become that easy, and we don't have to use anything. The technology will pretty much tell us. Right? And when we enter the house, coffee is being made. Right? We have a robot that comes and does all our stuff. So in this whole content creation side, which is, right now you see music directors, you see movie creation, television shows, script writing, journalism, all of these are content creation by human beings right now. Right? So all of that is going to slowly go away to AI, and it will become so personalized, right, that it becomes something that you enjoy watching. Right now we love to watch, let's say, a Rajinikanth film, right, because of Rajinikanth. We love him, right? So we love Rajinikanth like that. But can AI recreate that feeling of a Rajinikanth in us? I don't know. But that's something that we'll see as it goes into the future. So content creation is continuously evolving. Right? We used to write in pen and paper, then we moved to computers. Now it's something else is creating for us. So I think we're in a very interesting time. Like we have my kids who are always on device. Us at least me, I still read some longer agreements on paper. And then, for example, like an older generation wants everything on paper. Right? So that evolution is happening right now. And I think content creation is an area where it can be completely, AI-fied in some way or the other. And we'll have to see how it evolves. But it's going to take some time. And till then, I think we just have to wait and watch.
Nice. We'll come back to you again on where it is moving and what you see. But we need to, now we want to get into another very interesting area, which is not something that everybody experiences or talks in their everyday life, but enterprises wrestle with this, and that is the regulatory compliance areas in the enterprise marketplace. And in our conversation, Aju briefly mentioned a few things that are possible, and that's when I got really intrigued in the enterprise compliance space in AI. So can you share that?
Sure. Hi everyone. So our focus as a company is to provide solutions for what we call the governance, risk, and compliance area of the business. So some of the focus that we have is, help enterprises improve compliance, increase efficiencies of their employees, and reduce risks, right? So these are the main things that we're focused on when we come to providing solutions. Examples, so we are industry agnostic when we provide solutions to enterprise. So I'll give you a couple of examples where these things actually come into play. I have Ajit here, but in a hospital setting, if all of you have watched a TV drama where there's like an ER scene where a patient is brought in, there are 4 people that need to lift that patient, put them on the gurney, when the ambulance comes in, the nurse has to do specific things, before a procedure is conducted, right? So that's very important because it creates a lot of risk for the organization that the specific steps need to be followed by that ER nurse. Or if you look at the news, there are organizations across industries that are now being fined multiple millions of dollars. Wells Fargo was an example that I think they got fined a pretty large amount because of the employees not aware of what their policies and procedures will be, right? And that's where we're looking at how AI can help. So what we've done in our software is for a nurse to go in, quickly put something in and say, hey, what is the procedure that I need to follow? Like a chatbot that they can kind of interact with and say, hey, what is it that I can do, right? So regulations as governments and at the local, state, and federal level, there are multiple regulations, not only just in the US, but across the globe, that are now hampering how businesses can operate. And the risk for that is becoming higher, right? And so our goal is to bring AI as a way to solve that problem and reduce that risk and increase the efficiency, like I said, of employees. So one of the examples we do is for policies, procedures, things like that, where an employee can go in, ask a question, chat with the bot, get the latest details of a policy, a procedure, what they need to follow to be compliant. We also have a lot of generative AI that we're using, which again creates a lot of efficiencies. Creates a lot of efficiencies when it comes to generating, procedures. So like all of you know, every year there's a lot of laws that keep changing. And it becomes very difficult for these organizations to keep it up to date, both locally, globally. And so what we're trying to do is, using AI to kind of help, employees kind of do those tasks, a very practical way of increasing efficiencies without, and reducing, mistakes, things like that. So that's kind of what we're focused on. So, things like we help, our tools help, our AI helps generate documents using ChatGPT and other LLMs. We have tools that will help employees analyze what they're creating and suggest, things that they can do better. So those are the kind of things that we're seeing AI as, an opportunity, more analysis, more recommendations, better, education of the employee to reduce the risk and actual, some of these things like, if there's an incident happens in a factory floor, that can actually completely shut down the factory if it is not handled correctly, or because the employee has no knowledge of what they need to do as far as what a procedure is or anything else, right? So that's what we're kind of employing AI, and I think that's where the future is as well, to use these as tools to improve the efficiencies while also reducing risk.
How's the response to this idea from the executive?
So it's very interesting, Batu, because I think there is a need, and I think people want to do it, but there's also a lot of concerns right now from parts of the organization. So, we work with a lot of federal agencies, we work with a lot of very large organizations that have defense contracts. So their rule to us, and we've actually had to sign a couple of contracts that said we cannot use their data to train any of our LLMs, because security of data is becoming a big concern, and a lot of the enterprise is still unsure on how to use that, how to use these tools effectively without giving away competitive intelligence. So some of this, if it is sent to a public, LLM, that's a lot of, very confidential information that goes out to the web, and so they need to protect that, but also not be left behind as their competitors are using and adopting AI. So it's a challenge that they're facing, and I'm in so many conversations that say, hey, we want to use it, but we're still not sure how, and we're having internal discussions on seeing how to adopt it. So it's still, and also I think the end user knows that he or she needs to use AI, but is still unsure how it actually improves their life. So I think we're going through an adoption curve. There's a lot of talk and conversations about it. People are aware that that is the future and that is what they need to do. But I think, at least in the enterprise, there's a slow learning curve that's happening, but it'll come there.
Do you think there are certain industries that could, the adoption could be accelerated, or they would have more interest?
So in my specific industry, anything that's regulated. So we see two different use cases. There's one that's heavily regulated, like, the healthcare industry or the banking industry or financial services. Those are heavily regulated, and the regulations kind of drive some of this, right? The other one, like I said, is efficiencies, right? So there are these large organizations that are globally dispersed, that they're trying to say, hey, here's what we want to do at the corporate level, but we also have local, in Asia, have different rules that govern my employees versus Europe versus US. So how do we kind of best create those efficiencies? So there are both sides that see benefits from the applications. It's just the adoption, and of course, like I said, security, confidentiality, privacy, all of these things are what we're battling with in the enterprise, which I think, they'll get to at some point.
Thank you. Ashok, how about, there's a whole bunch of areas in business decision making and financial decision making that this can be leveraged. Two-part question, where do you think it would happen and where are you seeing traction in the marketplace from CFOs and CEOs?
Yeah, let me start by just making an observation about the personalization that Girish mentioned and Matthew. Do we want to live in a world where AI knows everything about you? It's a scary thought, and I think there was going to be a movement, a kind of an anti-AI privacy movement. Already happening in Europe, it's going to happen very broadly. I think that we don't want to empower companies to know so much about you that they will misuse, and they will misuse. So I think having said that, what we see with businesses is LLMs are basically information answering platforms. What we see that the driver of adoption is going to be more large action models. It's not enough for an AI agent to give you information, but it needs to do something for you. And so you want action agents that actually automate various tasks. And that's what we're seeing in finance, that's what we're seeing in various other functional areas of the enterprise. And so you will see a movement where the very base level that is driving value today, of course, if you know H100, that is all the GPUs or the hyperscalers as they call it, and then you have the platforms which make it easier for you to adopt. But now the future is going to be about the agents and the applications that actually run on these platforms that are doing things that are useful for you. So if you're a small business, for example, which is an area where adoption of AI is going to be very difficult because you're going to have very limited skills within these companies, but they could use the technology. But what you're going to see is agents do things for them. So if a small business is applying for a loan, the lender, whether a bank or other institution, is going to require you to provide a lot of information. What if you have a system that basically extracts the relevant information from your existing systems, like whether you use QuickBooks or NetSuite accounting, whether you use some other financial products, whether you use an ERP, and basically produces the application on one click. That looks like, that is AI for the enterprise. It may not have the kind of same interface, but at the back end, these agent models, that's what we're building. We're building AI assistants for a variety of finance tasks, but more generally for business tasks. And I think that's the direction in which it's going. So we will see a variety of companies, a new crop of companies which don't exist yet, that are going to build platforms, what I would call the operating systems, the new operating systems that enable you to build these agents much faster without all the capabilities that large companies have. So that's how we see adoption and the industry program. And there's a lot of issues with respect to scalability of AI too, by the way. You don't want to have 3 platforms control all the flow. So every query cannot go to 3 or 4 platforms. It wouldn't make any sense. OpenAI, Google, Microsoft, Meta cannot be the only 4 companies for which all queries from all companies go. And that's just not going to be the way it'll work. And so you're going to have a completely different architecture, and you're going to have new companies and new technologies come to the fore to make that happen.
Thanks. expect a lot from Chat CFO in the years to come.
Working,
Yeah, and there's a lot of areas in business decision making that I think it will play out over a period of time.
absolutely.
And the adoption is going to be fair. You don't have to convince people to do that, right? This is such a burning topic. We're already past that, so I want to kind of quickly run through and try to wrap this up. But I wanted to have Rex talk a little bit, and make it short because we're out of time, on the retail side, what kind of impact AI has had and where do you see it progressing?
Sure. Thanks, Patty. I just want to give a quick example. How many of you here already have Instacart on your phone? Familiar with Instacart, right? Right. So, apart from shopping on Instacart, one of the things that we see quite a bit, a lot of adoption that's happening is, if I want to, let's say, if I just pose a question, how can I have, how do I make a healthy pasta? Sorry for the oxymoron, healthy pasta, right? But still, how do you make a healthy pasta? So it gives you like maybe 6-7 options. Let's say you choose chicken penne pasta, and it gives you like 7 ingredients. Kroger, whatever it is, you can choose whichever shopping cart you want to get those items from. It gives you the recipe, 20 minutes to make it. That's an easy use case. One of the things that's making that industry very popular and handy. Then I can talk about Walmart, right? So the CEO, Doug McMillon, in his second quarter earnings, post-earnings, he was talking very intuitively how generative AI is helping a lot of things improve on their product catalog. 850 million pieces of data that gets input and helps improve the shopping experience, speed to delivery. It actually prepares your shopping cart from your previous purchases. Amazon does it for quite a while. So there's many areas that we see all of these things happening. Retail industry uses it quite a bit. And healthcare, I hope you guys saw Anand Jagannathan's sessions yesterday. A lot of interesting insights about where they are heading towards both from a payee and from a provider perspective. Right now, there's a lot of proof of concepts happening from the provider standpoint because there's a lot of risk that still needs to be mitigated. But from an insurance provider standpoint, you can always see a lot of documentation happening, improvements on AI that they're working on. So a lot of groundbreaking work happening in both of those sectors. We get a lot of questions from many of our C-suite partners in these areas. And if there's 2 people that you would like to follow just to get a good understanding, one of my previous relationship leaders, Joe Atkinson, who's a vice chair at PwC, he writes a lot of articles. He's now the global AI chief for PwC. He provides a lot of insightful articles, at least maybe once, twice a month. He provides some information. And then a lot of experiments happening from the Wharton School. There's a professor, kind of like a junior Einstein kind of a guy. His name is Ethan Malik. If you like to follow him, he conducts a lot of experiments and he also provides a lot of outputs that are coming there. All these are futuristic, a lot of areas where some of these industries are focusing their data points on. So I think that will be helpful.
Thanks, Rex. So I got a rapid fire question. 30 seconds, we go around, right? What's the next wave in entertainment, in content creation, and in content delivery?
I think we are already in that next wave phase. Already you see Netflix and all the OTT platforms kind of suggest, saying you saw this, you should read that. So that's in early stages of this, personalization that is going to be happening. So like right now I know Sai likes Rajnikant. So with my intelligence, I will send him some messages of Rajnikant. But imagine AI will be doing that over billions of people and we'll get to know. And I think when Ashok said, we don't want to give our data to the big companies, but I believe they already have our data and they're already learning more about us. So they will always be one step ahead of whatever we are thinking. And they're using a lot of AI as well to mine a lot of this data. So they'll be able to kind of extrapolate and connect unconnected data and make those decisions for the media consumption that we are going to have, whether it's on your mobile, whether it's on your television or whatever it may be. So the next phase of, I would call, hyper-personalization, and you'll be getting to see and read and listen to all your favorites, whether it's on Spotify or on Netflix or on Maxstar or whatever. Whatever you want will be what you really wanted, and sometimes you yourself don't know that that's what you wanted.
Thanks. Automotive.
30 seconds, right, Patty?
Whatever, yeah.
So I think you will see two or three things. Is the level of convergence that's happening is going to be tremendous. We're seeing the car becoming more of a technology device. The world's, just to give you a perspective, and in the automotive industry is 90 million units, out of which 30 million units is China. China is the gorilla, it's the elephant in the room, okay? So they are a 30 million unit. To give you a perspective, the United States is only 15 million units. It's half the size. So tremendously, we see the car becoming a technology device. When I go to China, in Wuhan, Beijing, and Shanghai, a taxi, if it costs me $100, I usually take only driverless taxis because it's only $40. Because of the guy with the driver costs me 60% more. So I'll show you, if you're interested, I'll show you videos. Every time I go, I don't have a driver. So I'm very, very used. The Uber driver for me here is totally obsolete. I don't understand why you have a driver here. It's just crazy. Why do you need a driver? The person doesn't, it's a waste of time and waste of money, productivity loss. So that's just the mindset, the way the Chinese think, and in a year, I spend around 3 months in a year, 4 months in a year in China, because that's where it is. So tremendous convergence in terms of AI, in terms of conversion of the phone, a car becoming a phone device. I think that will happen in China in the next 5 to 7 years. And then the rest of the world, in terms of automotive, be it the US or Europe or even India, tremendously is just playing catch up to the Chinese and Tesla. So that's kind of what I say.
Thanks for the update. Ajju?
So I think my personal opinion is, with coding tools, AI is generating generative code right now. And one of the things that's going to happen in the enterprise is it's going to be faster and faster for them to build tools that address their very specific needs and create that efficiency I was talking about, where it's not as expensive and not as time consuming for them to, create applications, workflows that really solve their problems very quickly and create efficiency across the entire workflow or the entire life cycle, whatever they're up to. And that I think is going to be pretty quick and very fast in the next couple of, in the next 24 to 36 months, we'll see some serious acceleration of that happening in the enterprise.
Thanks. Enterprise decision making.
I'm a big better on US. I don't care about China that much. So whatever the advancements may be, I would bet on US for AI. Second thing I would say is that the way it's going to go is the AI you don't see is where a lot of action is going to happen. It's not the AI that you actually see. It's the AI in the background that you don't know about. And that's what's going to influence more of the investment and adoption.
Rex, how about healthcare?
Yeah. Healthcare, again, a lot of proof of concepts happening in the provider industry. Documentation is already well under progress, so I look forward to seeing a lot more groundbreaking information coming out from there.
Thank you.
If I may.
Yeah.
I absolutely agree with Ashok. If you talk to the Chinese, they really tell you that the Americans are ahead by 1.5 to 2 years. But specifically in the application of AI into automotive, Tesla is the leader, but the Ford, GM, and Chrysler are 5 years behind.
Yeah.
Okay, that's the problem.
Yeah.
The problem is the Germans, the Mercedes, and the BMWs, or all the legacy manufacturers, they are so slow, and that's where. So after Tesla, there's a big chasm, and then it's the Chinese, and then all the legacy guys. But Ashok, you're absolutely right.
No, but the overall proliferation of AI among Chinese consumers is definitely more than in the US, right? Do you see?
Well, my knowledge is very much limited by, in the automotive space. I look at it from the OEM manufacturing space, and I don't think they develop technologies if the consumer is not ready for it. But ultimately, we talked about, like Girish talked about, okay, what do you do on Spotify and so on, same thing. If the car becomes a technology device, okay, it knows what type of food I want, depending on my mood, depending my child is crying, okay, I need this type of milk. I don't know what this AI is going to do, but they're just integrating into your lifestyle. So.
And to your point, yeah, in China, it's a top-down. Yeah, it is a very top-down at the consumer level. And you have to adopt it whether you like it or not, right? And that's having an impact too. In the way they're progressing, there's a lot of impact. Okay, now I got the $1 million question. I'm going to Bharat, right? This is something that's going to be talked about and is probably going to plague us 10 years from now or even sooner. So Bharat, this is the question to you. Is AI regulation a good idea? If so, how do you see it evolving? This is our last question, and then we'll end this.
That's a very good question, but let me just quickly go over what I've heard here on the panel today. I'll put on my philosopher's hat. You're hearing about the evolution of a whole new technology that is going to have an enormous impact on a very large population in the world, China or America or any darn place. You're also hearing about how it's not just a matter of conversation, language and so on, but it's also action-oriented. And it's going to be behind the scenes, as it were. We're also hearing that it's going to be in a form where it's going to be able to tell us what we want. As a philosopher, the question that I have to ask myself is, what happens to me if a machine is going to tell me what I want? Where do I go? That's one question. The other one is, if automobiles are going to become this kind of a technology thing, remember something. When Uber started, the whole idea was to create additional employment for people who were underemployed. That's the reason why many people who had jobs that were part-time jobs began to become Uber drivers. The question is, what happens to those people when your darn car doesn't have a driver anymore? In India, for instance, taxi drivers moved over to drive for Uber until they realized they were getting gypped. Then they went to Lyft. Then they found out they were getting gypped there. And now there's a whole mass of former taxi drivers in India who have no idea of what's going to happen to them. There are studies in at least 6 of the Ivy League schools in the US that are arguing that there will come a time in our foreseeable future, before I'm dead, where there's going to be a significant population in the US that's going to be unnecessary. What happens to them? So the point about AI is not that it's going to solve all these problems. It's not that it's going to kill a lot of people. It's not that it's a great danger. The question is one of trust. If the product is going to be trusted, if it's going to become ubiquitous, if it's going to be everywhere, whether it's in consumers or cars or in finance or in any darn place, it has to be accepted by the general population. If it's got to be accepted by the general population, there's got to be some way in which the people as a whole can learn to trust this system. And if there are people like me, who's educated, who's going to ask, where am I in all this? Can you imagine where everybody else is going to be in an age of social media, when every kind of crazy misinformation can be spread about anything at all, including AI? We're in for a very, very uncertain period, unless right now we think about what we can do. The third aspect of this is that a large part of the conversation is going to be led by the very same companies that are doing the AI stuff. Are they going to then sell their idea of what AI is in a persuasive way to the public and expect the public to absorb it? That's possible. That's very, very possible, considering the ways in which our tastes are now modified by very, very good marketing. You know, I think about something that I want to do. I want to go hiking tomorrow, and Amazon produces an ad telling me what kind of shoes I should wear. It's already going on, right? So these questions of uncertainty, the question of trust, are two things that we as an educated people have got to think about, because there is a very large mass outside of this room that is not anywhere where we are. What are they going to do? Have you thought of that? That's my question.
This debate and whatever he said just got started, but we don't have time. Okay, I mean that's something we could take on for 2 hours and have really good discussions around what you just laid. But we're limited with time, and I know that there are people in this group who are probably sitting there having some great ideas. And if I give the microphone to you, you would be there, Ravi, I was just thinking about you as he was talking, what we discussed, even this morning we were discussing it. But this is the challenge, and I think we're going to enjoy this process. But see, the one good thing with human race is we have had all the hardships possible, but innovation is driven, there have been compromises made, and finally, we as a group continue to move forward. And that will happen. And it will move at different paces for different people at different times. But I think we have to believe that our civilization will continue to move forward and achieve great heights. It's been a great pleasure with these guys. You know, the one thing I know is you put a bunch of DB CEOs, consultants, the conversation can be interesting. And some of these guys sitting here have the potential and they have the platform to create some deep impacts. And I hope that this carries through, and as a group, we are creating huge impact in the world that is going to evolve in the future. Thank you all, and I've enjoyed being part of this group. Hope you enjoyed it. Thank you very much.